Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It only took us 40 minutes to figure that out. All right. Yeah, there we go. The stream health is good, Tommy Weber. Let's see if we're good here when it pops up. Come on. Yahtzee. And it works. Look at that. Yes.
Good job.
Things are good. Yep.
Al, very good. Way to go, buddy.
It took me a minute, but yep, I made it. That Wagner education at its best. Right
oh,
there.
Boy.
Yeah.
He's the Harvard of Staten Island.
Now we are good. We are good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start a watch party because, we need people to watch now. So I'm going to start a watch party to get some people on. Starting that watch party, and boom. All right. The watch party is started. So, Tommy, I think we need to go back and rehash everything we already talked about. Since nobody...
Oh, my God. I'm going to be exhausted. Okay.
Nobody heard anything of what we said prior. So let's start out. Ladies soccer. Tell me all about it. What do you think about that?
I think that at best it's a really bad look, and at worst it's really it really lacks a certain requisite courtesy and compassion and empathy for an opponent that's defenseless. I understand they had to score the goals, and I have no issue at all with that. I mean, that's their rationale for scoring so many goals. That's fine, because they want to make sure that they get the goal differential. That's okay. I'll accept that.
Yep.
But whooping it up the way they did when they're facing a defenseless team, I feel is also disingenuous. I can't believe you're that excited, no matter how little or how infrequently you see the field or the pitch, whatever it is, and how few opportunities you get to score a goal in a game where you're facing an opponent that can't defend itself. So that's my opinion. I know that a lot of people feel that it falls under this broad heading nowadays of let the kids play, as if anything goes. It's funny, anything goes unless you're on the receiving end.
Yeah.
So for every parent that has a daughter that's an athlete that wants to say you don't know what it's like, they want to score a goal, that's fine. But just think, what if it were your kid on the other team? I think you might feel differently. And I have the luxury, as you do, of experiencing both ends of the spectrum, getting
Absolutely.
my brains beaten in and beating somebody's brains in. And I was always very cognizant of the fact that I never wanted my team, when we were up by 20, to whoop it up and rub the noses of the opponent's players in the fact that we were drubbing them. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. And, I'm not telling them not to stop trying, not to score goals.
Not at all.
Go out and do that. Given the opportunity, yes, score the goal. It's just how you conduct yourself after you score the 13th goal.
Couldn't agree more.
That matters. That's what matters. That's what I was looking at, and to see that, it's not a good look. It's not a good look for any team, let alone the United States team. I think, as a USA, we've got to set the example. We have to be the team that's out there being classy and being sympathetic, empathetic, whatever you want to say. I think that should be us. We should be setting that example. I don't want my kid to go out there and score the 13th goal in a 13-0 game and celebrate like that. I'd have a conversation. I would have a conversation with my kid after that.
On Twitter and in every other conversation where parents justify all the money and time we spend on sports, we talk way too much about life lessons. Well, isn't this a life lesson? Isn't this an opportunity for you to show some moderation, some modesty, and some empathy for someone who really can't defend themselves? It's one thing if you win a glory. Look, I love to celebrate. We won championships. I celebrated for a year, for God's sakes. There's no end to my celebrating when you summit, when you win it all. It's a great, great feeling, and you've earned that. But when you're beating a team that you know you're going to beat by 10 goals and it's the 14th goal, I don't care if you're taking some guy out of the stands, some girl out of the stands, and she's never played soccer before. It still is not a great accomplishment when you do it and there's nobody defending you. So I don't know how happy you could possibly be. It's like getting a base hit off a guy who's underhanding you the ball. Well, you should get a base hit. It's nothing really to celebrate. It's not a great accomplishment. It's like making a 1-inch putt. Well, anybody can make a 1-inch putt. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but if you make that 1-inch putt in, and the 18th hole, and it's the one that's going to win you the tournament, yeah, go ahead and
Then
celebrate.
you celebrate.
Right?
Then you
but
celebrate.
If you're
Absolutely.
winning by, it drives me insane that, and people were coming on and saying things along the lines of goal differential. They deserve it because they put in so many hours and that they're at the highest level. No.
Everybody puts in hours.
Yeah.
Everybody puts in a ton of hours.
So did the
They
other
don't
team.
deserve anything. They
Yeah.
don't deserve anything.
The
They're
other
playing a
team
game.
did the same. The other team
Right.
did the same. And
You know-
don't sit there and act like there isn't another team out there. There is
When
another
you
team
know
out
what?
there.
Look, first of all, this you deserve it. If it was about deserving, there would be 8,000 guys in the major leagues. It's not about what you deserve, all right? It's about what you get. And nobody deserves anything. You get what you get, and what you do with what you get is a testament to your character.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. There's no such thing as fair, and nobody deserves anything.
Yeah, ask Clint Frazier about that right now at this
right.
point in time, right? He
As he's
tearing it
on
up
a
in the
bus.
big leagues, yes, and
in
he's
his
back
car
to the
back
minors.
to Scranton.
Yeah, because they signed Edwin Encarnacion. So
Right.
now he's coming in, and somebody's got to go, and he's the guy they picked. Was he playing well? Of course he was.
You know what?
But
I'll say this, though. I'll say this. Maybe Clint Frazier should have ran that ball out the other night when he walked to first base on the double play.
Yeah,
maybe
maybe he should've.
Clint Frazier should have conducted himself a little differently, and more people would have been rooting for him. And maybe when they got in that office and they said, who do we want to send out? It might not have been Clint Frazier. Just goes to show you how thin the margin is.
Mm-hmm.
You know that as well as anybody, how thin the margin is. You are 2 good weeks away from the big leagues and 2 bad weeks away from going home.
exactly.
That's the way it is.
Exactly.
That's the way it is.
And I'll give you a prime example. 1997, I'm in spring training, Tommy. I'm having one of the best spring trainings of my career. I'm tearing it up on the Double-A team for Pittsburgh, right? 2 days before spring training ends, guess what they do? They make a trade with the Cubs, bring over 2 middle infielders. Guess where they're going to put them? They're going to put them in Double-A. Somebody's got to go. As well as I did, I deserved it, but guess what? It's not how it worked out. It's a business. Boom, things happen.
Right.
You don't deserve anything, right? Does anybody? No, right?
You get what you get.
You get what you get. It's how it plays out, right?
Right.
It's how it plays out, and you most certainly don't deserve to score a goal, and celebrate when you're winning 13-0 or 12-0 or whatever.
And if celebrating is okay, at what point is oversell? Is there a way? I mean, if you light the building on fire, if you set off fireworks during a celebration, is that the next thing that we're going to say? Is them expressing themselves? They're just having fun. I mean, at what point do we say, you know what? Maybe there's a limit to how much you should be celebrating. Maybe.
Yeah. So Victor Coco comes on board and he asks us, who is our favorite baseball player at this point in time, like in the big leagues right now? Who's your favorite? And I have my picks, but
mine's easy.
Go ahead.
Matt Festa.
Matt Festa. Go ahead and tell us why Matt Festa.
Pitches for the Seattle Mariners. He pitched for me in 2014.
All right, fair enough.
13 and 14 he pitched for me, and he is my absolute favorite player. The favorite player would be Tom Murphy because I know Murph. He's a great guy. He's a big league catcher with the Seattle Mariners now. Let's see. Who else is my favorite player? That's about it. Those are my 2 favorites.
Those are your 2
My
favorites.
my favorite player that I don't know. I don't know. I mean, who do I really like? You know who I really like a lot?
Like who you like to watch? Where you're like, wow, that guy can play.
I like DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah, he's phenomenal right now. That kid is out of his tree right now.
First of all, he plays every position.
Yes, and he plays
And
his
he gets
butt
a hit
off.
every time up.
He does.
He gets a hit every time up.
Well,
I think he's
not
hitting
every
1,000.
time.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
No, I think he's hitting 1,000. I'm pretty sure.
Is that possible? I don't think that's possible. But yes, I've been watching this kid right now, and he is just playing out of his tree, and I'm amazed by the kid. Where did he come from?
I enjoy
heard
watching
nothing
him play.
about him, and now all of a sudden he's just tearing it up for the Yankees. And he could have been sent down. He could have been the guy.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe there was a conversation about him being sent or Frazier being sent. Which guy should we send down? Because when Stanton comes back, he's going to start. Judge comes back, he's going to, you know what I mean? So these two guys, you didn't run a ball out the other day, Clint. Guess what? That was the difference maker right there. That's why
I'm still trying to figure
down.
out why you're wearing white shoes. I know if George Steinbrenner was alive, you wouldn't be wearing white shoes. I don't know what that is. That's like a defiant. Again, that's a defiant thing. I'm telling you. And his issues with the press in New York and stupid responses, that doesn't go over big. I'm sorry.
No, it does
not. Unless you're Ken Griffey Jr. Unless you're Mickey Mantle, and he's not Mickey Mantle or Ken Griffey Jr. So.
Yep. Well, anyway, so let's since it's Father's Day, let's do this, Tommy. I know we didn't talk about it in the earlier rendition of the show, which didn't work out so well. But Father's Day, right? And I know, whoop, I lost you. I think I lost you. You froze up on me. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to bring Tommy back. We just got to reset his phone. And we'll have him right back up. I'm going to reconnect. Boom. Hey, you back? Sweet. All right, I lost you there for a second. So, it's Father's Day, right? Here's what I want to do. I want to ask you. And I know your dad was a huge part of you falling in love with the game of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And, tell me about that. How important was your father in your love and what he did for you to help you along into becoming who you became in baseball?
Well, I mean, my father was one of those guys. He was part of that generation of real stewards of the game. They were game first. They really revered the game, and they insisted that you respected the game, that you played it the right way, and that the needs of the game came before your needs. They really didn't care if you wanted to, express yourself or what it was. You played the right way. Otherwise, there were serious repercussions. I mean, my father was just I say this many times. I was interviewed in the Cape, and I said, I got to cut my teeth and learn the game at the knee of a guy who just watched the game differently. He was a player, a manager, and I always say this, watching baseball with my father was like listening to music with Mozart. It was a different experience. My father dissected the game and, saw all the subtleties and the nuances. And my father wasn't a fan. He was more of a craftsman. Really a scientist of the game. And that generation, he wasn't the only guy. And I was always surrounded. I had professional players in my house all the time. My father was a scout. Other guys who had played pro ball in the 50s and grew up with the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Giants. And I was imbued with the wonderful history of the game as well. I knew the entire Brooklyn Dodger lineup in the 40s, in the 1980s. So, my father truly lives in just about everything that I do and have done as a player, and especially as a coach, manager, and mentor to players. I feel a lot of times very, very close to my father, like I'm channeling him in a lot of ways. And and you know what? That's a very joyful, grateful thing that I have. That it's a gift that I know my father keeps giving me.
That's fantastic. That's great. Fantastic. On my father, he loved baseball. He really did. To the point where he built a baseball field for me in my backyard.
Atco Park.
Park. Ken Arnold Park in Atco. Ken Arnold Park in Atco, New Jersey. But yeah, he built a baseball field. Now, was it a perfect baseball field? No, but it was still a baseball field. It had a backstop. The kids were out there from the neighborhood. We were playing all the time, which was fantastic. My dad loved the game. He loved the Phillies. He watched the game every night during the summer. He would come home. He would turn on the TV, put the Phillies game on, and we would sit and we would watch the game. And those were times together because my childhood when I was a kid was tumultuous at best. My mom and dad, they had issues and things like that. But those moments spent with my dad in baseball. And when I went away to play at college, You know, you could tell when he would come to the games how happy he was, how he loved loved that time. You know, how he enjoyed it so much, and you could just see the smile on his face. He was a different person, you know, when he was at games. When he came to see me play,
him up.
It did.
It softened him up.
It did,
because he was a big tough guy.
Yeah, and when he saw me play professionally, you could see the interest in the, you know, and how when he talked to his friends about it. You know, anytime I would see his friends from work or people who knew him outside of, you know, people that I really didn't see that often, but when I would see them, they would say, your dad talks about you all the time, you know. He tells us about it, and, you know, he told us about this game, you did this and you did that. So I knew my dad was really, he was really into what I was doing as a baseball player, which is great because that was the connection that him and I shared for many years. And then after I finished playing, and we really didn't get to see each other a lot after we were done, after I was done playing, because I was in Maryland, he was in New Jersey. I'm raising little kids, you know, he's doing his thing up there. The moments that we did have was if I was driving to New York or whatever, I would call him on the cell phone. And you know what we would talk about?
Yeah.
The Phillies. We would talk about the Phillies. No matter what time of year it was. You know, during the season, it was easy because, you know, I'm driving through the Philly area. I got the game on the radio. We could talk as the game was going on about what was going on in the game because he's watching it on TV. I'm listening on the radio. And those were kind of cool moments, special moments. You know, he never really got in the way of coaching. Never. You know, he never came out to coach any of my teams. He would help now and then, but that wasn't his thing. His thing was he loved baseball. He wanted me to play it. But did he ever step in? He was that dad that kind of stayed back and said, look, you have to deal with your coaches. You have to go out and do your thing. I'm not getting in the way. And that's just how he was. So.
Yeah, I remember your dad very well because he was one of the first parents I ever spoke to as a coach of one of my players. And I think back on how that generation, you know, our fathers come from the same generation ostensibly. You know, it was very few words. Wasn't like, didn't have a million questions, didn't want to ride the team bus, you know, didn't want to be on the team like crazy parents today, you know, or, you know, just like, you know, that was, and when I think back on how different that was and they were relative to today where, you know, parents can't get enough, like, oh my God, I have to be at every game and every practice and be hyper involved. It just strikes me as ironic because I agree, you know, my father and I, you know, look, everybody has difficulties. You know, relationships are what they are, irrespective of who you're having them with. And my father and I could argue about anything, but we never argued about baseball. Mm-hmm. Never. Baseball was like the ultimate peacemaker in my house.
Yeah.
When I went downstairs
and
the game was on,
yep.
My father and I would sit there and not utter a word. We would just watch the game. My father would do things like this. Kenny would go, you got to make that play.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be it. Or this is trouble. Like, you know, 2-0 count, big hitter up, big situation. He'd go, this is trouble here. Sure enough, double right center field. You know, he had that intuitive sense.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of what I picked up more than anything else is that real feel. Like we talk a lot about feel. You know, that real feel and sense for the game. So, you know, I'm glad that. Wow, it's tough. I'm glad you asked me that question, and I'm glad you got to say what you had to say about your dad because he was a good guy, and I'm sure you miss him.
Absolutely, and you know, I know you miss your dad as well. So I do it now with my sons when I sit and watch baseball with them. We'll just sit there, and then all of a sudden I'll say, like your dad used to say, it's 2-0. Watch what he does right here. Watch this. This is the pitch he should be swinging at. Right. This is the one.
Right.
You know, and then he wants that one back. You know, he can't believe he took it. That's right. You know, even today when we were watching the game, me and my son, I was only in the room for like 2 minutes, and as I was walking through, I was like, "Yeah, watch this right here, what he does."
Right.
You know, and my son's like, "What do you mean?" I say, "Oh, I just watch," and then I would leave the room and come back and say, "All right, well, what happened?" You know, and he goes, "Oh, well, this happened, this happened." I said, "Yeah, that's what." You know.
Well, you know, I'm sure you got this too. I'd be sitting with my father. He'd go, "You know what? This game has a bad feel." And I would say, why? And he'd go, you only get so many chances.
That's right.
And then the baseball gods, they take over. And sure enough, this team would fall, whoever, the Yankees or the Mets, or they gave away too many runs or didn't take advantage, and you know what, ran out of chances, and the other team capitalized and winds up winning the game. So really, really great. More than anything else, I know that was a great way to learn any game. And it's far better than being, a stat master or, fantasy baseball, where you have this serious disconnect with the game and all you look at are numbers.
Yeah, no, it's different now. You got all these guys with these computers and these analytics and everything, and
Yeah.
are they really watching the game?
No.
Are they really watching the game, or are they just worried about the numbers? So
Well, it's funny you say that, because it could segue into my little rant that I had on one of my
Okay.
podcasts recently about I'm watching these college super regionals and regionals and these really highly paid coaches and how poor they are at managing. They're not poor at coaching.
Yeah.
Because an essential element in coaching is recruiting, and they're great recruiters. They get the best players. I get it. They're fabulous. I would hire them if I were the manager to recruit the players. But as far as handling a team and a game, they're always a pitch behind. They're always, they're so busy writing things down or looking at different charts that are in the dugout that they lose what's happening on the field, which is really the only thing that matters. I mean, the only thing. And I'll just give you real quick. LSU played FSU, Florida State. Super regional elimination game. Whoever wins goes to the College World Series.
Mhm.
It's the 12th inning of the third game, tied one game apiece. Florida State has a runner on second. They're the home team, right? They score, they win, it's over.
Mhm.
The best player on Florida State, Drew Mendoza, up in the Cape for a couple of years, drafted in the third round, is up. He's left-handed. The pitcher is right-handed.
Mhm.
First base is open. Paul Maneri, who, when you mention Paul Maneri's name at LSU,
Yeah,
people
everybody
genuinely
knows.
flex. And
Yeah.
and maybe he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I think this is part of what is happening now in our coaching culture. He doesn't walk them. And
Why?
I'm sitting there with my wife, and I said,
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because I really believe they're distracted. And I think they lose where they are in the game. And by the time they catch up, Drew
It's over.
Mendoza has just
Yeah.
laced the base hit into right center field. And FSU is doing a dog pile because they're going to the College World Series.
Sure.
And I really believe that is the result of being divided. Your attention is, you're on a chart, you're writing, everybody's always writing something down. I don't know what six guys could possibly be writing down every single pitch in a baseball game, but they are. They are. And I think they're distracted. I really do.
Well, and you know as well as I know, Tommy, that in a baseball game, if you're around the game enough, you pretty much know the situations that are going to happen on any given count, on any given play. You got a guy on first. The game doesn't change that dramatically that you can't, you know the patterns. You know what's going on. You know if you're paying attention. But if you're doing that, yeah, you're not paying attention to what's going on. So when these guys are yelling out numbers and they're yelling at, they're giving these signs and everybody's got a card and everybody's got to check their pocket and look and do all these things, right? I know, and you know, that there's only a certain amount of things that they can do anyway in that situation. You know
That's
that.
what I'm trying to figure out. Where are all these added options?
Yeah, there aren't any.
Well, they have to be, because how else could you be compiling all this data and having wristbands and things, a utility belt like Batman on your belt? Every kid that looks, I mean, it's a 2-2 count. There's nobody on. What are you looking at? I don't get it.
I don't know.
I really don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
I know.
And I firmly believe, now that I've watched enough, I think these guys are distracted and they're disconnected from the game. They remind me, if you watch an orchestra, the conductor only glances at the chart. He doesn't look at the chart and go like this.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at the orchestra. He wants to feel and see the orchestra. They're the ones playing the instruments. He's not going to look at the music and conduct the orchestra. I'm losing my mind.
And to be honest, and this is a situational question about baseball. You got a first and third situation, Tommy. How many different things can happen if you send the runner? How many different things? What are you going to do as a defense? I mean, really.
Well, that to me is all contingent upon the ability of your players.
Of your players, right? But
if I'm at a professional team,
yes,
I'm
if you have good players,
and my shortstop's going to throw the ball home and going to get the runner out. But,
exactly. But you're playing. All right. You're playing on a very good high school team. All right. Say that's the level. What are your options? Right. You throw through to second base to get it.
You don't throw through.
Yeah, you don't throw through.
You hold the ball.
Yep. And
I'll tell you what. If I'm in high school and I got my ace pitcher on the mound and it's first and third and there are 2 outs, I'm making my catcher hold the ball.
Yeah, because you know
I'll
that
go
he's
with my
going
pitcher
against that hitter.
And the more we throw the ball, the more likely the ball's winding up in center field and guys are running around the bases like crazy.
Exactly. So it's very limited options at that level. They're very limited.
Very limited.
Right? The things that I would do, but you said you had a good pitcher. Well, let's say you don't have a good pitcher on the mound, right? And it depends on the situation. Is the game close? Is the guy on first base slow? Because if he's slow, I'm throwing to second base and getting the out right then and there. Boom. That's it. I don't care about the guy on third. Depends on the situation. But there are only a certain amount of situations that can happen. And these guys are yelling out numbers and colors and flipping charts and looking at wristbands like there are 20 options. There aren't. There aren't that many options. I just don't get it.
To a very successful Division III coach. Been in the game a long time and has had very good teams. You know what he told me? And he tells me this every time I speak to him, so I have to stop speaking to him. Tommy, I have 12 first and third defenses.
What? Did you just turn around and walk away? Because that would have been I'd have been like, I can't talk to you right now. Wow, 12? 12. You have 12. Three is too many. 3 is too many.
In 2017, even last year, we had a meeting. I brought all my players together, and I said, listen, and they love this. They practice like first and third, and they practice bunt defense for hours, like hours. So I say to them, I get them all together, and I have the bat and the ball, and it looks really official. I say, all right, ready? We're going to work on our bunt defenses now. I said, you ready? When the ball gets bunted, throw the friggin' thing to first base.
Field it, throw it to first. We're good.
Then I asked one of my coaches, I said, Neil, how much time did that take? He said about 18 seconds. I said, damn.
There it is.
3 seconds more. 3 seconds more than I wanted to spend.
Done.
What? Getting out. And you know what? If it's a critical situation, at a critical point in the game, I'll go to the mound. We'll talk about what we're going to do based on where we are in the game, like you said, the context. And we'll render a decision as to what we're going to. But I know guys that practice bunt defenses for like 2 hours.
Yeah, and that's the wheel play, Weber. The wheel play, right? You know how many times we use that in the 1,000 games I played professionally? The wheel play?
None. Once.
Maybe once.
None?
Maybe one time in the 1,000 games I played.
I say this, Kenny. No team has ever won a championship celebrating, and as they're throwing the champagne on each other, say, "Thank God
for the wheel play."
Best bunt defense team ever. Nobody does first and third like we do.
We're the best. Now, fundamentally speaking, though, you want to know what to do in those situations. But do you need to spend 2 hours in a practice working on it? No. Simple as that.
If you could catch and throw the ball,
then
you know how to defend.
Yeah. So. And in a bunt situation, get the out at first, and then depending on the situation, if you don't like the next guy coming up, intentionally walk him. Now you set up a double play if you need it. I mean, it's not like you say. It's not rocket science, right? You just got to know the game and know the situation and what's going on. You got to be paying attention. You have to be paying attention. That's the biggest thing for me and guys today is they don't pay attention. The Orioles game today, watch the 10th inning.
So, I want to stop you there. I believe, you say that offhandedly. I really believe that paying attention is a lost art. And I think that's what all the data collection is. It's a substitute for focusing on the game. Because I'll tell you what, to really focus on something takes a lot of energy. You'll get really tired if you focus on the game. You really will. But you know what? Doing the charts and collecting data and writing, I have these guys with the 4-colored pen and you know, 5 different chart behind me. You're not paying attention. I'm sorry. You're not paying. It's like kids in school. If your kid could just pay attention, he gets a B in every class. And then if he's at all smart, he can get A's.
Absolutely. And that was my game. That was my game in school. I paid attention. And that's all I had to do.
Right.
And I was able to pass with flying colors. So
people think like that's not an easy thing to do. We say it like it's, oh, just pay attention. That's one of the hardest things to do, and that's why people don't do it anymore. They don't. I see a lot of guys that are distracted. They're all about having the beard and the stupid sunglasses and the stopwatch around their neck and the watch around their. I've seen the whole outfit, believe me, and the pen in their ear and all, and the chart. Come on, you look ridiculous.
Victor Coco said he's paying attention.
I know he is.
Yes, he is. I know. I love it. Thank you, Victor. We appreciate that you're paying attention.
The question is why.
Yes, exactly. Why? Why are you here? What's going on right now? Why is anybody here? So yesterday I did something kind of fun. Yesterday
Really?
I went down and watched. Yeah, I went to watch a game of with some of the guys that I coached like 6-7 years ago when they were in high school.
Oh wow!
And now they're playing in a collegiate level league. And I went down and watched a few of them. I took a couple of the guys from the team that I'm currently coaching and went down there and said, hey, keep an eye on these guys and check out what they do. They played for me. And it was kind of fun. It was kind of nice to see.
That's cool.
We were only there for a few innings, but, we got to see him play. One of my guys, he comes up, and I'm like, all right, guys, watch this guy, right? And before I finished that sentence, he ripped one off the left field wall. I was like, holy moly. That was pretty sweet, right? And then,
That's
of course,
cool. Very cool.
And then, of course, when he comes off the field, right, he gets to second base, and he comes back. He's running off the field, and I got my guys right next to me, and I'm like, yo, my guys just said you need to do a little bit more weight room. And, of course, he was, like, looking at me like, shut up. I was like,
That's great.
Well, because, what's one of the best things when you're on a team? You can bust each other's balls all the time. That's what you do. That's what
no
you do.
rules.
No. You make fun, you have fun, you make fun. That's what it's about. Are there serious moments? Absolutely. But you know what? There's nothing like being out on the field. Yeah.
Not that many.
There's nothing like being out on the field,
Nothing like it.
Receiving it and giving it, and that's what makes the game what it is. And you'll never forget those moments, and you'll never forget those guys.
Never. Nothing like it.
No, nothing like it in the world. And that's what makes it one of the greatest games. Because of that. And other sports are the same in that regard too. But, I don't know. It's just something because I played baseball for so long and was around a lot of great guys in my day, in college and professionally. It was a lot of fun. So, all right, man. We're going to cut this one a little shorter than normal. So, you got anything else you want to talk about? I know we talked about openers and that in the other one, but we'll save that for another day. We'll talk about
we could check out that video I sent you if you want next time.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll actually download it, edit it, and then we'll watch a little bit of it, and then we'll talk about what you were saying.
If you want, I could send you some. I got me and Hunter working too in the cage. Hunter Bishop.
Okay. Yeah. I know.
I'll send you that too.
I like the video you sent today because there were some things in there that I wanted to ask you about. And what we'll do is next week I'll take that video, I'll cut it down, and I'll just pull out the parts that I want to talk about, and then we'll play those and show those. So if that works for you.
So just to answer Victor's, I did this in a speech I gave. I was a speaker at a event. I gave this speech. Yes, there is in my opinion, but not in my opinion. There's one miracle win that just is so much greater on every level that can't be hyped. That whatever second is 1,000 miles away from it, and that is the 1980 hockey team's victory over the Russians and the subsequent victory for the gold medal. There
Absolutely.
is nothing. That is the greatest event in the history of sports. By a long shot.
Yes.
A long shot.
Yes. And I even brought that up in the conversation the other day about the 13-0 thing. I was like, the United States women's soccer team, they are the Russians right now. and somebody's going to come along and beat them, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So
as Herb Brooks said, not this game, not tonight.
That's right. I mean, that was phenomenal. I remember that, and I was 11 years old at the time. I was just a little kid, and I remember that. I remember sitting up with my mom and dad watching that game, and it was fantastic, fabulous.
Unbelievable.
So, baseball miracle wins. You know that '86 Mets. No, I'm only kidding. Everybody blamed Buckner. Wasn't even his fault. God rest his soul. We didn't talk about Bill.
No, terrific player.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Player. Great career. Great player. No, they left him out there. McNamara left him out there.
Because they wanted him to celebrate. What an idiot McNamara was.
Are you serious? God. Wow. Come on. The other guy should have been in Stanley or whatever his name was, the first baseman.
Dave Stapleton. Dave Stapleton.
That's it. Yeah. He should have been out there. They did it all year long with Buckner. They would take him out.
And please tell me why, with 2 outs, up 3 runs, Jim Rice is in left field playing no doubles defense, and Gary Carter hits a ball that should have been caught for the 3rd out, and the World Series would have ended, for Christ's sake. Where the hell is Jim Rice playing? Yeah. You're protecting against the double. You're up 3 runs.
Why doesn't anybody bitching at Jim Rice for that and holding him accountable for the Red Sox losing that game?
And why would you take Roger Clemens out of the game? What are you doing?
And the guy who threw the wild pitch that allowed them to score the tying run.
Calvin Schiraldi.
Yeah, come on.
No, that was Bob Stanley.
That's who I was thinking of.
Bob Stanley.
Yep.
He brought Schiraldi. He took Clemens out. He brought Schiraldi, and Schiraldi wanted no part of that game. He looked like he was going to cry that he brought him in. Please, don't bring me in. Don't bring me in. Worst managed World Series on both sides I've ever seen. Oh, my God. Worse than Joe Madden with the Cubs a couple of years ago.
I'm still amazed that they won that World Series. I can't believe.
Well, he tried to lose.
Yeah, and Cleveland kind of gave it to him. Cleveland was just like, all right, you try to win it because we don't want to win it, and then you don't want to win it. It was a mess. All right, it was nice talking to you. I'm gonna cut out. I'm gonna go get some dinner. I'm starving. We went a little longer. The U.S. Open is this week, right? Is that
it's right now?
It's
last round.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it going on right now?
Right now, Pebble Beach.
Oh, gee. Aren't they over?
Gary Woodland.
All right. Well, you go watch that. And we'll see you guys next week. We'll go over some video of Weber giving a little instruction. And then, we'll talk about some more things next week. Thanks, Webbs. I'll see you soon.
Man. Love you.
All right.
Happy Father's Day. Be well.
Thank you.